Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that has been featured, this week has been featured in Amazon Music in the TV and film category. That's right, we are feeling bougie, or bourgeois, depending on your things. My name is Tosin and I am the host. I am based up in the United Kingdom in a place called Bromsgrove just outside Birmingham. And joining me as always from the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
And that is all that shall be joining us. Joining us today because Shaun is busy working and I think probably still recovering from his surgeons in Spain. And Holly still has no voice. After a week, Holly still has no voice. And I think my voice might be going that way as well. But if there's anybody who's joining us, if we've received an Amazon Music bump, and if there's anybody who's joining us from Amazon Music, thank you. Hello, welcome. Lovely to see you here. Please do subscribe to get more episodes. Or I guess you want to listen for the next 5 minutes and then figure out whether it's worth it. Subscribe if you talk anything good. But what we do on this podcast is we go to the cinema, hopefully see about 3 things a week between the 4 of us, we usually might see about 3 things a week. Rate them out of 5. We stay at home, watch things on Netflix and various streaming sites, rate them out of 5, and then we say, where has the money been better spent this week? This week, we have seen one thing in the cinema. And so this week, Sharon is representing cinema, and I am representing Netflix and Friends. Isn't that right, Sharon?
That's correct. It has been slim pickings on both fronts. Well, I've started lots of things. I just haven't finished anything.
Okay, all right, cool. I haven't even made it to the cinema. I have not been able to make it to the cinema, mainly due to life and children and another child about to arrive and not being in one place long enough to actually... So yeah, there's been a whole thing. I haven't made it to the cinema, and now I seem to be coming down with a cold, or the flu seems to have hit a bit early this year. So, yay, life. Yeah. So I haven't been able to make it to the cinema, but... I was hoping to see the Turtles movie. That hasn't happened. But tell us, Sharon, what did you manage to see in the cinemas?
I went to see a little film called Scrapper.
Scrapper.
Yeah.
I don't think I can think of a more apt title for a little film.
That's it. It's a scrappy little thing.
Yeah. But no apt title because I haven't even heard of this film. I'm looking forward to this because it's very rare that the film has come out that one of us in the podcast has seen, and I haven't even heard of it. And I have zero clue what this is about, who's in it, or anything like that. And I at home, on Netflix, I saw a documentary film called The Deepest Breath. But before we go there, we have become almost like a public service announcement thing for how to get Apple TV Plus for free. So we just like to tell all of you, if you're listening to this from Amazon Music or from any other place, wherever you're listening to this on, please do subscribe. I had this whole thing where I've mentioned on the podcast before that I've had Apple TV Plus for about 2.5 years and have never actually paid for it. It's you keep getting free deals. So I found that my wife, our latest free trial finished, and my wife ordered a cake from Patisserie Valerie. And they were like, thank you for ordering a cake. Would you like a month free of Apple TV Plus? And I was like, well, yeah, we would like that. And after I mentioned this to you on the podcast, Sharon, what did you do?
Well, I was talking to a friend at work who's very good at hunting out bargains. And she said to me, oh, you can get Apple TV free if you have a Barclays account, a Barclays bank account. I said, oh, well, I've had a Barclays card. I've already had a free trial of it. She says, no. It's different and it's separate, so you can still get one. So I had an investigation on my Barclays, the hidden bits and bobs that everyone lurks around on their Barclays app that probably no one ever looks at. And yes, you can get if you haven't had a Apple TV before, you can get 6 months free.
Yep.
And it's through I think it's like your products and then subscriptions. You can subscribe for 6 months.
Yep.
But if you have previously had an Apple TV trial, you can get 5 months free. So,
those absolute stingy people.
I know. What's that all about? So, but we did spread the word at my office. So, in my office, a number of people now have free Apple TV.
Yes, and I think I will actually share that link that you sent to us in our WhatsApp group onto our Twitter page. That says, okay, these are all the ways in which you can get Apple TV for free. I don't understand what they're playing at. I don't understand what the plan is. Because, quite frankly, my brother has referred to Apple TV as the new HBO. So HBO is the thing that everybody used to know. If it was HBO, as a mark of absolute quality. And my brother was like, they're like the new HBO because all the stuff that they do is great. Whether it's Idris Elba and Hijack, whether it is our personal favorite, Schmigadoon, at least the first season. And it's
Yes, I watched the first episode of Chicago.
Schmicago. I think they called it Schmicago, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I preferred Schmigadoon.
Yeah, Schmigadoon.
It might grow on me. It might grow on me, but because they do like a Jesus Christ Superstar bit later on in this season. Because I went through the episode guide and thought, what musicals are they going to be doing?
Yeah.
And they do the one that's like a little bit like Jesus Christ Superstar, but most of them are in that period of musicals where I was like, nah.
Yeah, I know from the trailer. I had a feeling I might not enjoy the second season of Schmigadoon as much as I did the first. But whatever it is, they tend to do really, really good quality stuff on Apple TV Plus. And so, but we found this list of all the different ways in which you can watch it for free for a serious amount. And I'm like, I don't understand what they're trying to do, but I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to use it. But I think my dad, because obviously we have the Netflix thing, and Netflix have recently cracked down on their sharing of the passwords. Yeah. And my dad reckons that, what Netflix is that, let's just hook them and get them addicted. And when they can no longer live with it, we'll take it away unless they pay us more money. And I'm not sure if Apple TV Plus is trying to do the same thing. I don't think it's working because at the moment there's so many streaming sites that, to be frank with you, I'm actually quite glad to have one that I'm not allowed to watch. Because I'm like you were talking about Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
I haven't even thought about Paramount Plus since it was released in this country. Since it was released in the UK, I haven't even thought about Paramount Plus. I haven't even bothered about Paramount Plus. I haven't cared about Paramount Plus.
It's got to have that one must-see season, hasn't it? It's got to have that one must-see show that you think,
yes,
I'll get a trial and I'll watch it, maybe. But I think what I know people at work are doing is they're rotating. They may pay for 1 month on one and then cancel it, watch it for a month and then let it go for a few months until things build up again. There's enough for them to worth getting it to watch, and then they sort of binge watch whatever they do. So you just get it 1 month and then you leave it for 3 or 4, and then you binge watch when you do it again, and just rotate around them all.
Yeah, I mean, when Apple eventually stopped giving away free stuff, when Apple TV, when they eventually stop giving away free stuff, I can't see myself waiting until, you have the new season of the After Party and Hijack is finished and everything, and then paying $6.99 a month and then just binging a whole bunch of stuff and then getting out of there. So paying £7, watching a whole bunch of stuff, I can't see myself doing that. But the problem is that with Paramount TV Plus, there is literally nothing on Paramount TV Plus that has made me think, ooh, I really want to see that. I've heard about a whole bunch of things and none of them have really done it for me. Well, you will excuse me, bunged up nose.
So I shall see. So I've got Paramount Plus for 1 month, and I will see. But I'm already going to go. I haven't even logged into it yet because I've only got it today. So when I do, I'm going to go in and cancel it. So I've got my 1 month, and I know that it's already cancelled, so that it doesn't get more than 2 months from me.
And from all the people from Amazon Music, these are the kind of tips you get from us: how to save yourself money. But let us talk about films, and we will start with cinema, as is our wont. We always start with cinema, and so could you tell me about this film that has totally escaped anything? Scrapper. How did you see it? Where did you see it? What's it about?
Yeah, I came across this by chance because it was our secret screening. I got an unlimited card at our local cinema, which is a Cineworld. Other cinema chains are available. And every now and then they do a secret screening where basically anyone who's got an unlimited card racks up, sees what the film is, and then you either to stay or you just clear off. So the last one I went to with Shawnee was called Talk to Me.
Yeah.
Which he stayed for and I left halfway through. I didn't want to see the rest.
Yeah.
So you don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get. And when we came to this one, this is what we got. We got Scrapper. So Scrapper is a small independent British film, and I'd only seen one trailer for it. I think I saw the trailer for it at the last secret screening I went to, which is obviously it's not mainstream. It's not out there a lot.
No.
Scrapper is a story of a little girl. It's a little girl, 12-year-old girl, who is basically living on her own. You see her doing the housework, making everything in her house just so. She pays the guy who works in the local petrol station to to record voicemails for her so she can play these to her teachers and she can play them to her social services, because no one ever calls around to see her. They rely upon the phone. And she's created this character called her uncle Winston Churchill, who the school and the social services have been in communication with via phone calls. And she basically has all these set. She says, "Can you say this into the phone and make it sound cheerful? We bought a rabbit today," and then they get the guy to record it. So basically, she has been fooling everyone that she is coping and living on her own. It turns out that her mother has had a degenerative disease and has recently died, and her dad is nowhere on the picture, and so she basically does not want to go. She doesn't want to leave her home. She doesn't want to leave her friends. So she's there coping and trying to fool everyone that she's doing okay. And she spends most of the day with her best friend. And the reason she can manage to pay the bills and she's paying the rent is by basically stealing bikes. So her and her mates, they go out, and as soon as someone goes to work and they chain up their bike, they've got a system where basically they nick push bikes, pedal bikes, and they sell them to someone who would basically do a quick turnaround with them.
Yeah.
So this is how she's getting by. And then one day, there's a knock at her door. Well, there isn't a knock at the door. There's someone who jumps over her back garden fence and lets himself in, and it's her dad.
Oh.
A dad that she has never seen. And it turns out that her mum and dad had her when they were 17 themselves. And his answer to parenthood was basically to clear off to Ibiza and work in the clubs. And so now at the age of sort of 30, he suddenly realises that I've got a 12-year-old daughter and she's living on her own and I can't just leave her. So he comes back. And then the story basically of the film is them sort of circling each other warily, and then that sort of trying to build connections. He's never been a parent, and in some ways through the film you see examples of that, how his mates are all like young men who've gone out to Ibiza or the party scene, and they're just like working in the clubs or sort of touting for these nightclubs in the resorts in sort of places like Ibiza.
Yeah.
And you see him playing kickabout football with some of the youngsters down the park. And you think, in his head, he probably still thinks, I'm that young lad I've always been. And yet he's a man he's in his 30s. So it's about him facing up to growing up. And she's facing up to, actually, I can't do this on my own. Maybe I do need someone else.
Okay, everything you said so far is making me love the idea of this film. Because I mean, at the beginning when you started speaking, I was thinking this could be like, well, first of all, I have two brothers. One of them said a thing about Apple being HBO, Apple TV being the new HBO. The other one says you can tell when a film is a British film because it's always depressing. So I mean, he would have heard the first bit of this film and he would have gone, yeah, that's definitely a British film. Girl living on her own, mum died, doesn't want to leave the house. That is definitely worried about social services. When social services is the bad guy, definitely a British film. And it's almost like Ken Loach-ian, but when you bring in when you talk about the dad bit, I'm like, oh, this could be something a bit more uplifting than that. But everything you said has made me go, I think I'm already building a film in my head of what this is going to be. And in my head, I'm thinking, this sounds like it's going to be such a good life-affirming thing. But then I'm thinking, I have my brother's voice in my head going, oh no, it's a British film. So it's a British film. It could be depressing.
There are elements of truth in that, but I would describe this film as Ken Loach meets Baz Luhrmann meets Wes Anderson.
Whoa!
So there is that social realism in it, but every now and then it does something nuts. It goes into fantasy land.
Yeah.
Where something her mum said to this little girl. I don't want to sort of give any spoilers away, really, but there's something her mum said that she sort of latched onto.
Yeah.
And so you see her go into this fantasy world where she wants to sort of build.
Yeah.
And you see her sort of, and then you see it through her eyes, and then as this she actually creates something, and basically you see it how she sees it.
Yeah.
And then you sort of see it almost like three different ways, and then as the film progresses, you sort of get a fantasy version, then you get like a partial reality version, and then you get stark reality. And so you see the world through her eyes in some ways, where it's like this fantasy world. And every now and then, like in Strictly Ballroom, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I have seen Strictly Ballroom, yeah.
Characters where they talk to the camera, and they talk about the other characters saying, well, she's like this, and she's a bit... and they do that throughout the film. So you got the social services, basically this man and a woman, looking just like social workers, but their room is grey. They're in a grey box. They're wearing grey. They've got like this grey computer screen and a little bit like off-white bits of paper around. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're these two caricatures. And then you see her teacher again talking to camera, and he's dressed like something out of children's television. Like Mr. Bumble, he looks a bit like Mr. Bumble. It's like brightly coloured. It's got like all the things on the wall, like joy, happiness, and it's sort of he's in this like multicoloured box, but he's like the most depressing person in the world. You can tell he actually hates children. And there's one scene where these two characters meet in the town, and he sort of says, "Oh, sorry about your mum." He went, "Do you want a hug or something?" It's like, you really understand children. So you get these little vignettes, and yeah, there's touches of Baz Luhrmann, there's touches of Wes Anderson where something just bizarre happens, and but yeah, they have got that sort of Ken Loach social realism where you see how hard life could be.
Okay, so two questions. First of one is there anybody that you recognized in this film?
No.
You didn't recognize any? Oh man,
not a single person in the film.
I really want to find it. I really want to watch this film now. And obviously, okay, and how many stars would you give it? Because everything you've said about it makes me want to track this film down on whatever tiny screen it's going to be on and watch it. But
some things work really well. Sometimes it's a bit of an uncomfortable fix. I thought it was a really sweet film, and I liked the tone of it. I could understand the fantasy elements of it, and I appreciated it. I think Shaun less so. So he'll give his own opinion.
Shaun saw it with you. You
went
guys
there
both
together. Yeah. So he was not as, because afterwards, so I said it wasn't perfect. It had some flaws in it, but I thought it was a sweet film. And he was like, it was a bit. He didn't love it, but I thought it was a good film. I liked it. I don't think it was quite a 4 for me, because there's some of the things didn't quite work. There's a bit with talking spiders, which is a little bit bizarre.
Oh, very Charlotte's Web, but
yeah. And so for me, I kept expecting to pop up again, thinking, but they only sort of have like a couple of scenes where they have the talking spiders and thinking, if you're going to introduce that as a theme, then it's got to be consistent. But it sort of came and then sort of they didn't bother about it ever again.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, that didn't work. If you're going to use that, then use it, but don't just ignore it, because every time they go into a room, I'm expecting one of the spiders to start talking, and they don't. So I think, okay, what was that all about? So it doesn't always work, but I do commend it. I thought it was good. It's a sweet film, better than I was expecting it to be. So I'll definitely give it a 3, but for me it's a strong 3. And if it didn't have these sort of bits where I'm thinking that didn't work for me, I would give it a 4, because I liked it. And I think it's one of those films that, I think, I just thought it was. I'll certainly recommend going to see it, but I would say for me it was if it weren't for these sort of little bits of every now and then going, I like your ideas, I like your passion, your vision, but it didn't quite work.
Yeah.
It's the but that means I couldn't. I'd have to give a very strong 3 though for me.
I'm just imagining now. I'm imagining the filmmakers being in the edits, going, "All right, cool. Okay, where are we going? Oh, it's a bit too much Ken Loach. Let's throw in some Baz Luhrmann in there. Okay, cool, Baz Luhrmann. Okay, good. Oh no. Oh, we need some. Oh, okay, put the spiders in. That's Wes Anderson. Put the spiders in. Just trying to like create this, make this cake, which is kind of what editing is like, anyway. But all right, cool. So 3 stars for Scrapper. I really love it when I hear about
the
film
central character, the little girl, she's excellent in it.
Well,
I think it's her first film. I think she hasn't done anything before. I think the guy who plays her dad, I think it says introducing at the end, these 2 actors. So I don't think they've been in anything before. Or maybe because she's got her best friend. I think the 2 children, I think the 2 principal children are the novices, and the others might have been around, but I just didn't recognise anyone else.
Well, the fact that this is based around, what did you say, a 12, 13-year-old girl?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's based around a 12, 13-year-old girl, and you haven't mentioned the performance, you've only just talked about the story so far. That tells me brilliant performance. Brilliant performance, because you're not looking at the kid going, why aren't you better? But all right, cool. So that's it. That's it for Scrapper. And now we're going to go over to Netflix, as is a way, to the final film that we're going to be talking about this week, because this is all we've seen. And this is The Deepest Breath. The Deepest Breath on Netflix. Now, The Deepest Breath, it is a film that, it's a documentary. It's a documentary film. It's about an hour and a half. And the first shot you see of this film is pretty much this person in water, in a body of water. It's either the sea or the ocean or something like that. They're surrounded by a whole bunch of other people. They have like a cap on. And the first thing you see of this film is almost kind of like a real time. The person just sort of takes a deep breath and then goes underwater. And goes underwater holding onto this rope. Just sort of like swimming straight down, holding onto this rope, going down, going down, going down, going down, going down, going down. And they just keep going, and just keep going and going. And you can actually see the lights disappear. You can see it getting darker. And they keep going down. This is a person with no scuba tank, with nothing on, just a person in a wetsuit, just going down. And then the camera angle changes, and you see that there's this sort of like disc with a tag on it. And so you're looking up at this person coming towards the screen. The person grabs the tag, turns around, and goes back the other way. And it's going up, going up, going up, going up, going up, going up. And as the person goes up, all of a sudden there's people around them, and they're looking at this person, and the person goes up, and all of a sudden just stops. And as the person stops, everybody around them grabs this person, takes the person up to the surface, and starts like giving them CPR and all. And this is your introduction to this film. I think this is a film that could have been told in so many different ways, but the storytelling in this film is amazing. Because from the first shot, you're like, what's going on here then? Okay. Oh, that's a bit crazy. I mean, even your face as I'm explaining this film.
I was like, wow. I was thinking, wouldn't you get the bends or something if you go down that fast and then come up that fast?
You see, and so this is the thing, and so this is your introduction. This is the film. I think it's made by an Irish filmmaker. I've got to remember her name. I think her last name is McGann. I can't remember her first name. I'll look it up before we finish. And it's your introduction to this sport of free diving. And so free diving is essentially you go in with no scuba, with nothing like that. You just go down on one breath, and it's about how deep you can go on one breath. But then you have to turn around and come back up. So they have like a preset distance of, say, 100 meters. You've got to swim 100 meters. Excuse me. You've got to swim 100 meters on one breath, take a tag to prove that you made it all the way to the end, and then come back up. And it's a crazy, crazy sport. It's a crazy sport. And so they built this story about this sport of free diving and this community about free diving, but they sorry, my nose. They focus on one lady called Alessia Zecchini, and she's an Italian free diver. And they start telling you her story about when she was a kid and how she always wanted to do this, and how it just became like this was the only thing she ever could see herself doing. But they go in to tell you about how dangerous it is. They tell you about the people who have died doing it because they essentially went down there. They didn't quite get the bends. I think the reason I think if you have a scuba gear on, then you get the bends. If you just free dive, then you don't.
Is it because you're breathing and then it's that pressure or something? I don't know.
There is medical stuff. They have medical people who tell you why doing this stuff is a bad idea and what it does to your body. But they also frame it as an obsession for this lady Alessia Zecchini, as an obsession for her, and that this is the only thing she ever wanted to do. There's a bit of it when she was 14, and they changed the rule to say that you cannot compete internationally until you're 16, and how she just went away and trained for 2 years, so that when she came back, everybody was like, "Oh my god, this kid is amazing," and so you meet her, and they just tell the story about her. She's growing up and everything's going on, but then after a while, another story comes in. There's a guy called Steve Keenan. He's an Irish. So Steve is an Irish free diver who was kind of like an adventurer. The kind of guy who packed up and said, I'm going to backpack around African countries at the age of 18 or something. And would just sort of every now and then send his dad a postcard to make sure that his dad knew he was still alive. And he talks about how he found free diving, and then you have these two stories between Alessia and Steve that sort of like build towards this thing, and it is so well told that after a while you're kind of like, hang on a second, why are they telling me these stories? Why are they doing it this way? Because all I've seen so far is archive footage. I haven't actually seen any current footage of Alessia or Steve. And I think and that's why I think the great thing about this story is the storytelling, because this could have been told in a way that would have been so straightforward, that would have said, okay, we're going to tell you what happened at the end and we're going to go backwards or anything like that. But this just says, no, we're going to tell you with no real gimmicks. We're just going to tell you a story. We're going to start from when this one was 5, when this one was 18, and how they were built up to the point where where the lives intersected, what that intersection meant, and what carried on afterwards. And there is it is quite an emotional film, and there is one moment that happens later on in the film when you realize what story they're telling. When you realize what story they're telling, when you realize what actually happened. Sure enough, you could go into Wikipedia, you could look up these people, and you could figure out what happened. You can figure out what happened, but I think that would be a mistake. I think you just experience this film the way it's presented to you, and the moment where they reveal what happened and what the crux of this story is, it is one of my moments of the year, because it is just so, and all it involves is a human face. All it involves is a human face, and it's so stark, and it almost sort of like hits you in the face. You're like, whoa. So I would recommend The Deepest Breath. I think the storytelling is. Sorry, I need to go find this woman's name, because she did an amazing job, and I would not be doing her. I would be doing her a disservice if I just sort of went, the Irish filmmaker who made this film. It is directed by Laura McGann. That's it, Laura McGann, and. Yeah, I mean, I think the storytelling, the way she went through it, the way she crafted it, the way she brought other people in, the way it explains how dangerous this thing is, but you never lose sight of the human thing, and it's just, I think this is so well told. I think it is brilliant. I would give it a 4 out of 5, and I would recommend you go watch it without looking on Wikipedia to figure out who these people are and why they are so important. And even while you're watching the film, because it's on Netflix, resist the urge to go and go, ooh, Alessia, I wonder what happened with her. There's a bit where they have she has this rivalry with a Japanese free diver. Don't look up the Japanese free diver. Don't look up Don't look up Steve Keenan. Just enjoy the film. Take it in as it is. You will be rewarded because it is a very, very brilliantly told documentary. It is so well told. And that is all I will say about that.
Sounds interesting. I was always curious to see, because culturally, you always used to get like the pearl divers, didn't you? People who would dive for the reason for going to get pearls off, and they would dive quite deep, wouldn't they? On
one breath, yeah.
They would just go down. So did it sort of grow from that sort of thing? This sort of cultural phenomena that they sort of expanded it. But it's interesting. I might have to check this out just to see if it answers any of my questions.
After you watch the film, yes. After you watch
After
you watch the film, before just in case, looking at the cultural thing of
come across something. No, don't do that.
Exactly. It's a bit like a film. There's a, but I think it's. I think like most extreme sports start from something like that. They start from something silly.
So someone has seen something, went, oh.
Yeah. It's kind of like the sport of cliff diving. That probably started off because of kids who grew up in places like Rhodes. And so it's like and someone looked at it and went, "Ooh, we could do," and then and next thing you know, they built a sport around it. It's like how skateboarding is now an Olympic sport.
Cheese rolling in Gloucestershire, it's a thing.
Yeah, I think we have a way to go before that's an Olympic sport.
That's an Olympic sport, yeah.
I'll tell you, I think what I think will make cheese rolling big, and for anybody who's listening and wondering cheese rolling, what you're talking about, Sharon, do you want to explain what cheese rolling in Gloucestershire is?
Yes, I think every year there's this festival where there's a huge wheel of cheese, and they roll it down this really steep hill. I mean, it's like a 1 in 20 or something ridiculous. And basically, everyone has to chase it on foot. And the first one who gets down the hill wins this wheel of cheese.
Yep, that's a sport.
People sort of go tumbling down. It's like Jack and Jill. I mean, people go charging down this hill at full pelt to get there before the cheese
People end up in hospital.
Yeah, every year.
People end up in hospital.
And they've had to sort of put limits on it because
chasing a roll of cheese.
People were doing it. Yeah, so many people were trying to do it that it was getting dangerous because there's so many people sort of crashing
on the hill at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the only way that's getting to the Olympics, or it's even getting shown to a wider, is because Sky would have bought all the rights to everything, so there'll be no sports left for the BBC to show besides cheese rolling in Gloucestershire. That's the only way that is getting any exposure whatsoever. But as I say, when it comes to avoiding spoilers, there's another show I started watching on Apple called The Crowded Room, and I was listening to the Pilot TV podcast, and they were saying, avoid reading up anything about this show before you watch it. They were like, avoid reading anything about this show before you watch it, because it's based on a book, but the title of the book is a spoiler. Because this is and it is a show that tries to do a similar thing to The Deepest Breath, where The Deepest Breath, it's only the storytelling. And the way that they do The Crowded Room, the way they tell you the story in The Crowded Room, is the only thing that keeps any kind of interest in the story whatsoever. Because otherwise, I think it's quite a straightforward story that we've seen before. And even if it hadn't been spoiled for me, I think I'd started figuring out exactly what was happening by episode 3, when there's 10 episodes in this thing. If you do watch The Crowded Room, another public service announcement, if you do watch The Crowded Room on Apple TV Plus, at the beginning of The Crowded Room, they say based on the book, blah, 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 and that tells you exactly what's going on.
Close your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the dumb bit. The really, really dumb bit is, you know how when shows come, you can click on skip intro?
Yeah.
In The Crowded Room on Apple TV Plus, when you click on skip intro, it skips to the screen that says based on the book, blah, 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 blah. And then there's another 5 seconds of intro that goes on. I'm like, what's the point of that? I'm trying to, it's like it's as if they had like a deal where whatever happens, they've got to try and spoil this thing for you. So if you watch the Crowded Room, close your eyes until the music. Yeah, close your eyes until the music stops playing for the intro and you hear Tom Holland speaking. When that happens, come back in. But because I watched, I think by the time my last Apple TV free thing ended, I'd watched only 7 episodes had been released. I'd watched them, and I'm not sure I can be bothered to go back because I kind of know what the deal is. I know what the deal is. I'm like, and I'd figured it out. But then, even if I hadn't figured it out, they went and told me because I tried to skip intro, and I saw 3 words that I was like, no.
It's O.
Then I was like, I think I saw these words. Yeah, I think I know what that. I think I know what's going on.
You can't unsee it. You can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. You can't scrub it from your mind. But yeah, The Deepest Breath, 4 stars. 4 stars. All right, cool. And I believe that is it for us this week.
Yes, short and sweet.
I'm not going to bother asking you who you think has won this week, Sharon, because
even with my math skills, I might better work it out.
Yeah, even with your math skills and my memory, we can figure out what just happened. So this week, Netflix and Friends, take it. So thank you very much for joining us for this. It is a shorter episode than usual, but please do subscribe wherever it is you get your podcast from. Subscribe, find out more, get in touch with us on Twitter at Netflix Via Cinema, on YouTube at Netflix Via Cinema as well. We would love to hear what you think, know what your thoughts are. If you have seen Scrapper, let us know. If you have seen The Deepest Breath and you want to post some spoiler-free stuff on our YouTube review of this, please do go ahead, because I think it is one of those things that I think having something that isn't spoiled is one of those free. It's becoming harder and harder, and that's why something like Scrapper, the fact that there's a film that's been released and I don't know anything about it, I love that. I love that idea, and I would love to preserve that for anybody who's listening to this who doesn't already know what happens in The Deepest Breath. So, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next week.